What's up, guys, and welcome back to the YaBoiWilly YouTube channel. Today we are going to be coping for New World, coping for AGS, and coping for the small community that is left playing this game. Let's be honest, it would be easy for me to make a video talking about all of the reasons as to why New World is dead, New World is cooked, it's a dead game. However, I think it would actually be more interesting if we did some coping here and had a conversation as to why I think New World could potentially be heading into the best version of itself that it's ever seen. New World lost all of its players. Nobody's coming back anyways.
Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original.
Now, all memes and jokes aside, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The numbers. Now, the number of players still playing this game is obviously not ideal. As you can see, this is where New World is at right now before Season 8, which is dropping very soon. New World is peaking at a very low rate. However, believe it or not, it is not the lowest that we have ever seen coming out from New World. If you include console numbers, which is, I would assume, probably around 1,000 to 4,000 players, the New World is probably hitting around a 10,000 player peak on a good day at this point. This is not where the game wants to be, obviously. However, if you look at last year, this isn't really the worst that the game has ever seen either. New World has actually been in a worse spot before and has managed to bring people back for updates. Take a look at last summer, for example. If you look at the numbers from, heck, you can say May, June, July, August, and September, you can see a big fall off when it comes to peak players and average players. Now, if you were to ask me, if I were to look at these numbers and factor in console, we are probably around where what May was probably looking like of last year. Is that ideal? Absolutely not. But it's also kind of speaking to the fact that we have not, New World's not at its lowest points yet. Are the numbers going down over time? Absolutely. Does it feel bad right now being a player in the game with a low pop? Absolutely. Does it mean that New World is dead? I don't think so. It's not even the lowest player base that New World has ever seen. And honestly, I know what you're thinking. Willie, the problem is no one will be wanting to play any new updates with New World, even if they're good. It's simply too late. I think that this is probably the most reasonable argument. It is true that over the years, New World has been fisting the player base over and over again with updates that add virtually no content to the game, promises that go nowhere, content that simply isn't there, and has left a sour taste in a lot of the player base over the years. But today we are coping, so let's cope. Historically, over the years, a big reason we don't see a lot of players coming back is because the updates in new seasons don't really have content in them. Let's look at New World Aeternum, for example. With Aeternum launching on console, we had a ton of new players make their way to the game. However, there was also a massive return from the PC player base. I think this took a lot of people by surprise, but there was a huge problem with the re-release. It was a release for console players and not really the returning PC player base. What new content was actually in the game? People aren't really happy about reskinning territories, so Cutlass Key's reskin wasn't really doing it. The PvP zone was fun for a second, but in reality lacked any actual reason to be out there. When we look at the in-game systems, nothing seemed to really change, but there really was a shining jewel throughout all of this: the Hive. The Hive was real content that players have wanted for a long time. People love raiding, and that's why this stood out. My point here is that when real content is added into the game, people will play and enjoy it. But when we get reskin territories and no real changes to the in-game systems, you won't have a high player retention. So what's my reason with this rant? Where am I going with this? Let's talk about Season 8 and how I think Season 8 may not be the season with a ton of content initially, but the season that sets up potentially the best season and times New World has ever seen since potentially Brimstone Sands. Let's not forget something very important here. AGS is treating New World Aeternum as if it's a new game. This is how they view it from a business side of things. So for all of the players that have been playing since the real release of New World and anywhere in between that and the re-release, I ask you to try and see it in that way. With that being said, now we should be able to see more real content, especially content for the in-game for New World. which has always been New World's big problem. New World has never had a problem with getting someone to sink hundreds of hours in. The design is amazing, the graphics is amazing, the combat's great. New World has a problem with keeping people playing once they get to that end game. So what about Season 8 in the dev video makes me think that it will actually change anything? Well, for starters, it truly does look like New World will be getting some huge changes to the end game this year. Maybe not in Season 8, but Season 9 and 10 will more than likely be massive for the game. Let me tell you why. In Season 8, we will be getting a lot of previews. Yes, it is the season of previews, and it is pretty lame and cringe that we can't just actually get this stuff in our hands when it feels like it's right there and available. However, typically from what we've seen from anything that has been previewed so far, it will be fully dropped the season after, which means that the previews of Capture the Flag, the new PvP game mode with 2 maps, and the new arena map will be more than likely fully dropped in Season 9. On top of that, you have other real in-game content like Barebones OPR, Expeditions Unleashed, the new OPR map, and a hardcore mode for seasonal server that will be dropping in Season 8, but will be continuous in-game content for the rest of the game. In the dev video, there was also a lot of things mentioned that will be coming soon. They hint around at an extracted expedition mode, a new PvP game mode that will probably be New World Battle Royale or King of the Hill. I personally think a Battle Royale would be better just because I feel like we have so much like point-based control systems in the game. I think Battle Royale would kind of add more fun to it. A new weapon coming into the game and a new zone coming to the game as well. Not a rehash zone, but a new zone. Obviously, we are coping here, but if we see a lot of this content drop in Season 9 on top of new content and the previews that we got from Season 8, this could mean that Season 9 could be the biggest season for New World since Brimstone Sands release when it comes to actual new content in the game. And there could be more that they haven't talked about that might be coming in Season 9. Cope warning. Cope warning. Cope warning. Remember, we are coping here. Cope warning. Cope warning. Cope warning. In conclusion, I do seriously feel like Season 8 is a step in the right direction. It is for sure easy to doom and see the perspective of the majority of people when they say that New World is dead or people are never coming back even for good content. I actually do believe that at times. However, sometimes it is nice to cope and play devil's advocate to all the noise. Truthfully, I'll never forget the thousands of hours I have in New World. The friends I've made, the wars I've won, the wars I've lost, the community that I have built from scratch from this game, the highs and the lows, all of it. Hell, I even got a tattoo of this game on me. And if New World truly does die sooner than later, then so be it. But it will be fun coping a little before that time comes. That's the end of the video, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and remember to drop a like and sub down below if you enjoyed it. Until later, your boy Willie is out of here. Peace, later, love. I'll see you guys in the next video.